Hello, everyone, and I hope you're keeping well. Now, the title of this little talk is Why Sustainability Matters Right Now. Now, I'm not going to try to convince you to become more sustainable in everything you do because you're already doing everything you need to do, right? And I'm not going to present you with facts and figures that justify the urgency of this move towards net zero because you all understand how you contribute to those figures in your individual organizations and in your daily life. And I'm also not going to take you through all the wonderful products and services that ALD have developed, because even if we do have some incredibly cool products and services, if only we do it and only we have those new products and services available to market, it represents a tiny portion of the challenge that we're all facing. No, this is really an opportunity to share with you some ideas and thoughts about how the industry and everyone involved in the industry can come together and help us achieve the sustainability ambitions that are set out ahead of us. Now, I'm going to take you through in the next 10 or 15 minutes some of my own ideas and thoughts about the things we can do to help us get there. And I want you to think of two models while I'm talking about this. The first is a principle called marginal gains. And marginal gains talks about how you can make tiny, minute changes in your day-to-day behavior or in your sustainability policies as a company in order to just move positively towards those goals that are faced in front of us. Sometimes we look to seek perfection in the solutions that we bring to our clients, to our drivers, to our employees. But in a world that's transforming and changing as much as the mobility world is, perfection simply doesn't exist. And therefore, if we're seeking perfection, we'll never be able to achieve those sustainability ambitions that we have to for the sake of everyone in the world. Now, the second model I want to introduce is one that you're all familiar with, CASE. CASE is an acronym that's used to describe what's happening in the mobility industry right now: connected, autonomous, shared, and electric. And they're well-known megatrends that are driving the transformation of our industry. But CASE, for me, as it's defined at the moment, is just things and stuff. It doesn't help us get to a more sustainable future. They're just things that might help us move a bit quicker. What we really need to overcome is the barriers that are stopping us move to that more sustainable future. And therefore, I'd like to adapt the CASE framework to be more suitable for sustainability. My version of the CASE framework talks about culture, adaptability, sexy sustainability, and of course, electric. And because we're in such a modern world, digital has to be a factor in that. So therefore, the acronym that I'm going to talk through is CASED. Now, culture means, does your company have a culture where it's willing to really commit to a sustainable future? Or does it just talk about it? Is it willing to take the tough decisions that will help us get there? Adaptability is about having an approach to sustainability which provides an entry point for all of your employees and all of your drivers, no matter how small. Sexy sustainability is about how cool your approach to sustainability is. Do your employees talk about it at dinner parties? Do they think it's a cool thing to do? Have they really bought in? Electric, we know all about the challenges of electric, charging infrastructure and model ranges. And of course, there's then digital. And digital is really about how good is the experience that you provide to your employees and to your customers to enable them to access your sustainable mobility products. Now, C is for culture. And let's look at culture in a bit more detail. What I mean by culture is, does your organization have the strength and the bravery to make the tough decisions to get to a more sustainable future? Let me give you an example. Does your CEO drive an electric car? Do they use the same mobility solutions that are expected of your drivers? Do you insist that all of your employees and your drivers move to a more sustainable product first? And they accept that because part of the culture and the values of the organization are about being a more sustainable organization. Does your culture accept a marginal increase in cost in order to allow you to move to a more sustainable future? Or does your organization just talk about sustainability and a commitment to sustainability, but not back it up by accepting that investment cost to get there? A is for adaptability. Adaptability means, does every person in your organization have a point at which they can join the sustainable mobility revolution, no matter how small? What I mean by adaptability, I don't mean just looking at your company car fleet, but I mean looking at all of the employees in the organization. And can you make them make one less trip a week using a car? Can you guide them to use e-bikes, micromodality solutions, public transport, maybe even walk? And do you have a solution and a policy which enables them to access those solutions in an easy, seamless, and effective way? Now, S is for sexy sustainability. And a few years ago, I talked at a Fleet Europe convention about sexy mobility. Well, now we're in the era of sustainability. And the reason sustainability has to be sexy is because everyone has to believe in it and everyone has to be excited about it. Sustainability can't just be a commitment or a drag or a burden on your organization. You have to make it attractive for all of your employees to buy into it. Sexy sustainability is about appealing to your employees in the heart and not in the head. So they truly believe that they're doing the right thing by moving towards a more sustainable future. You have to make sure that what you're proposing to them, they talk about with their friends and their family, and they talk about at dinner parties and in bars and restaurants. And they tell people what a great company they work for because they offer these mobility solutions and because it contributes towards the greater good. Now, E is for electric, and we all know about the challenges of the range of vehicles, the charging infrastructure, the battery range on those vehicles. But you know what? We've now reached a period where a 400 to 500 kilometer range has become pretty standard. And the charging infrastructure is progressively going to improve. And the ability to install charging infrastructure in office and workplaces and at homes has improved, with various partnerships being formed across the industry, including our own with ChargePoint. Now, you can't wait for the perfect coverage of charging infrastructure everywhere in Europe before you finally commit to a battery electric vehicle policy. You have to accept there are going to be trade-offs. You have to accept sometimes vehicles are going to run out of charge, just like today some vehicles run out of petrol and diesel. And then we have to manage around that and work towards it. But it can't be held as a barrier to moving more aggressively towards a more sustainable mobility policy. And with the choice of electric vehicles that are available today, there really is one to suit everyone. All of the total cost of ownership comparisons are showing that electric vehicles are now achieving parity with ICE vehicles over their life. And therefore, there's not even a conclusive financial reason not to do the right thing and not to do what you need to do. Now, the final thing to consider is digital. And what I mean here is your sustainable mobility policy accessible via a very efficient and cool digital interface? Is it an app or an interface that your employees or the users or the people involved in your sustainable mobility policy would want to use even if they didn't work for your company? Don't use the excuse of a sustainable mobility app or digital experience to just suddenly look to grab lots of additional information that you don't need, or make it very difficult for your employees to engage and access those sustainable mobility solutions that you're making available to them. It needs to be seamless, frictionless, just like most of the apps that they would use on their phone today, such as Uber, Amazon, and Google. So we have a new acronym, we have CASED, and CASED for me is how we achieve our ambitions towards sustainable mobility. Now, what you also have to bear in mind is transformation is difficult. Transformation is challenging. And the role of leaders is to address difficult stuff and challenging stuff and drive transformation. And I think we've reached the point in this industry now where we have to stand up to be leaders. We have to accept the responsibility of doing difficult things as an industry, and we have to move towards a more sustainable future as quickly as possible. The reason sustainability matters right now is because we don't have any more time. And if we don't start to make those difficult decisions now, and we don't start to drive that transformation now, then we have no chance of achieving those net zero ambitions in the future. So you all have a choice. You can either be a leader, or you can be one of the followers. Because there will be leaders coming through that are going to help us get there, and there will be people coming through that help us going to win this challenge. We at ALD Automotive look forward to doing this journey with you to a more sustainable future.